Well, this has been promised for a while. Going back to 2018, an earlier government was promising abolition of the death penalty, full stop. That was walked back in face of conservative opposition, and this is the new compromise. It is a good step forward. We're very pleased to see this happen. We had spoken to various people in Malaysia earlier this year, and they said it was moving forward, and I'm pleased to see it happen. But ultimately, we want to see abolition of the death penalty, full stop.
Yeah. What crimes will be impacted by the removal of the death penalty?
Well, things like, for instance, discharging firearms or kidnapping that doesn't involve death. These are things that have been faced a death penalty if they were done in Malaysia. That is now going to change, and that's welcome. I mean, I think that's one way to reduce the amount of application of death penalty, is reduce the number of charges that it can be used for, and I think that's an important step forward.
What crimes will still attract the death penalty?
Oh, obviously things like murder, things like treason, other major international crimes that they've designated. This is still a big problem, and there's still more than 1,300 prisoners on death row in Malaysia. So that is a big backlog, and ultimately I think the big issue is going to be how are they going to review those cases and decide whether, for instance, commute those sentences to life imprisonment under this new definition.
Yeah. What is your understanding of the moratorium? There has been this moratorium since 2018. Do you think that will continue to be respected?
Well, we hope so. I think Malaysia recognizes that if, in fact, they did have another execution, they would face a whirlwind of criticism, obviously from Australia, but also from the European Union and other countries around the world. And I think Malaysia has a very good chance now to become a bit of a regional leader in reform, moving towards abolition of the death penalty.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about countries around Malaysia. What are you seeing? What is the trend around the death penalty?
Well, Singapore is still a basket case. They are cheerleaders for the death penalty, and it's shocking that they continue to do that. Indonesia currently have a moratorium. We saw in Myanmar, after a long period of moratorium going back to 1989, that they executed 4 political prisoners. So that's a very worrisome situation. Brunei still has the death penalty for a whole bunch of things that under their criminal Sharia law that nobody considers should be crimes in the first place. So, I mean, it's still a very problematic situation. I mean, the only 2 countries in Southeast Asia that have abolished the death penalty are Cambodia and the Philippines.
That is really interesting. So, ASEAN could be a place where potentially this softening of approach could be discussed, do you think?
Well, I think so. And I think the way to approach this would be to do something that Malaysia has done, is start removing a number of charges in the penal codes from application of the death penalty, to whittle down the number of charges where the death penalty can be applied. There's a lot of things that are not violent crimes that are being considered for the death penalty. There's also, of course, issues of drug smuggling that are being used for the death penalty in various different places, and those charges should be changed. There should be reforms.
And, I mean, many have pointed to the fact that they do not act as a deterrent.
Well, that's exactly right. And that is, very clear from many different research efforts that have looked into this and have looked into attitudes connected to crime. But there's a myth out there that, somehow if we're tough on crime, we have to have the death penalty, or, this sort of eye for an eye kind of orientation. And I think that the governments of Southeast Asia need to move away from that.
Yeah. Phil, great to get your perspective as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.